What's up everybody, Ghost Bros Gaming, Steven here. Today we're going to be going through a Labrynth deck profile, but first, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Let's get right into it.
Ghost Bros Gaming.
Alright, let's get right into the main deck. So, first up, this should come as no surprise. We've got Triple Ariana. She's your best normal summon. She searches you a Labrynth card and she will plus you when you remove things with the trap. So, definite 3 of. We've got our honorary 4th Ariana, which is Ariane. She's not as good, but she helps you get to Ariana, so she gets your engine rolling and allows you to make some rank 4 plays. We've got Triple Lady. This card is insane. I don't see why you would run it at 2. This card is awesome. It does everything. It special summons itself pretty much at the drop of a hat. Anytime you use a Labrynth effect or a normal trap, it doesn't even have to be in your hand to see it activate. It can special at any time. It will plus you when you activate a normal trap. It's also a really big body, so yeah, definite 3 of. And we've got the Queen of being in my opening hand is Lovely Labrynth. She helps your grind game a ton. She is a really good card, but you want to be summoning her off of your Welcome Labrynth. You do not want to see her in the hand, therefore we play her at 1. And last up for the Labrynth monsters, I am running 1 Coup Clock. So this card is basically the key to a combo that will allow you to set and activate any trap in the deck on your opponent's turn. So if you're going first, you set up the combo, you wait to see what they're playing. If it's tier, then you pop a dimensional barrier or a different dimension ground out of your deck. Then you can activate that card that turn and basically shut them down. So I'll put up a combo video eventually just to show y'all how to do this, but it's pretty easy 2-card combo to get to this. And being able to activate just whatever trap card you could possibly need once you know what your opponent is playing, and just search that out of the deck is just too good not to play at least 1. We're running 1 Labrynth. This card is decent, I would say. I think we're running Metaverse as well, so this card is is another target for Metaverse in the event that your current Metaverse target doesn't work very well. So this card is pretty good. I just don't find that I'm going for it a ton, so I think 1 is fine. Triple Welcome Labrynth. Obviously, this card's insane. This is the best, pretty much the best card in the deck. It will basically summon out a Labrynth monster. It will recur itself, and if you have the field spell up, then it will also get you an additional pop. So, yep, gotta run that. For spells, we've got 3 Pot of Extravagance. Excuse my 1 gold rare. We're working on that. I do think that Prosperity is the correct choice in this deck. I just don't have Prosperities. I think Prosperity is a little better, especially going second at digging for the board breaker that you might need in a given scenario. But I think if you're playing on a budget, Pot of Extravagance is certainly a very good option in the deck as well. All right, next up, let's get into the normal traps. So, you have to play a pretty decent amount of normal traps in the deck that will remove a card from the field, because that will proc a lot of your effects. So one of the best ones to play is Compulse. It doesn't proc tier effects. It also is not once per turn, which makes it really, really good. You can potentially set more than 1, use it more than once, and returning monsters to the hand is one of the best removal that we have in the game. We've got 2 Dogmatica Punishment. This card is okay. It destroys, which is obviously not good, but you could get an additional plus off of it depending on what you send, or you could get 2 pops. So it's decent, and we just don't, frankly, we don't have a ton of options for good removal cards at the moment. So I think we kind of have to play this just because we need to run a critical mass of removal cards in the deck to get our Labrynth effects triggered. I actually really like this card, Tears of the Overroot. It comes in handy in a lot of situations. Obviously, it can remove monsters, but it can also do things like stop the effect of a continuous spell or a field spell. So if your opponent activates a continuous spell, it needs to be face up on the field to resolve its effect. And so if they activate that and you Tears of the Overroot and replace it with something else, they actually don't get that effect, which is pretty cool. We've got a 1-of Ice Dragon's Prison. I'm not a huge fan of this card. It is good at removing non-targetable things sometimes, but with the Shizu stuff, they can really mess with this card. It's kind of annoying, so that's why it's at 1. We just kind of need more removal cards. Last up for removal cards, I know this card is bad. It's Witch's Strike, so obviously anything that depends on your opponent to do something is not very good. Destroying cards also isn't very good, but when this card resolves against like Sprite or other non-tier decks, it's just like so much fun that I can't take it out of the deck. So acknowledge that it's probably not that good. You can probably remove this for something else, but I have a good time playing it, so it's in there. Next up, let's get into some Floodgates. Unfortunately, we are playing a ton of Floodgates. That is, in my opinion, just the best way to play this deck right now. So we're playing triple Rivalry, triple Gozen, because this deck is literally completely uninhibited by any of these cards, and they will shut down a good majority. One of the two of these will shut down a good majority of the meta decks running around right now. So these are really good cards. I also have been using them as like pseudo board breakers because these cards will force your opponent to send cards or monsters to their graveyard to satisfy their conditions. And so when you combine this card and Solemn Strike, this is sort of my going second strategy, where let's say I have a Strike and a Rivalry and I'm going second, I will set the Rivalry, set the Strike, and then pass to my opponent. And so then when it comes to their turn in the draw phase, flip the Rivalry, they will use one of their many Omni Negates that they likely have on board, and then you chain Strike to it, and since Strike is a spell speed that is higher than monster effects, they cannot respond after that. Then the Rivalry resolves and their board is wiped. So these are actually, like, in combination, pretty decent going second in my opinion. 1-of Trap Trick. This, I'm not a huge fan of it because it locks you into only playing one trap for the rest of the turn. So it's like somewhat situational in that regard, but it is really good to be able to just get into whatever trap you need that you're running multiple copies of. So I think it is still pretty good at 1. So next up we have our blowout cards. So we've got D-Barrier and Different Dimension Ground. Obviously these are mostly geared towards Tearlament. And so again, I mentioned that combo earlier where you can set either one of these out of the deck and activate it in the same turn once you know what your opponent is playing. So these are the cards that you would be setting out of the deck. We run them at 1 apiece because they are so searchable and they aren't always applicable. So we run them at 1. And then last up, we've got our Necro Valley and 2 Metaverse, since Metaverse is no longer at 1. RIP Mystic Mine. We play Necro Valley and the 2 Metaverse, which we can get off of the Trap Trick as well. This just, I mean, it's too good not to play this. And obviously, you know, getting to it with a Metaverse, you can search a Metaverse, you can set a Metaverse, like a ton of different ways, so it's really easy to get into in this deck. All right, so for the extra deck, it doesn't really matter a ton since you're really just banishing these off Extrav anyway, but we have a few rank 4s in the rare case that you are able to make them. We've got a bunch of Dogmatic of Punishment targets, so obviously your high attack one, just so you can really get anything with punishment. But then, you know, you've just got a ton of your typical targets, so Entis, Garura, Farigid, all the type of stuff that just goes off when it goes to the graveyard. So got some of that. And then last up, we have a few links just in case we need them. I have not really ever summoned these, but just a few. And so obviously it helps that they're fiends because Welcome Labrynth locks you into fiends, so you can still summon these under that. All right, and the side deck. This is actually the hardest thing for me to figure out. There's just a lot of stuff that I want to side deck that I can't. Metal Morph, this helps you to beat over stuff because a lot of monsters are 3k, and so it can help you out them if you can equip this to one of your Lady or Lovely. It'll give them enough attack to beat over. Daruma, this is insane for getting rid of like big towers, like unaffected monsters, so this is really nice against certain decks. EEV, if you're playing against something like Runic, you can, again, we mentioned that combo where you can put any card, any trap card on the field from the deck and activate it in that turn. So EEV's here for that. Boo Boo Game. This is one of my personal favorites. This when it goes to the graveyard, you can target 2 normal traps in your grave and set them to the field, and they can be activated that turn. So what this allows you to do is if your opponent activates Harpy's Feather Duster or Lightning Storm, you can activate one of your normal traps, then chain Lady's effect to set a trap from deck. Choose Boo Boo Game, set it, it will be destroyed, and then you get to get 2 of your normal traps back out of the grave. So this is just pretty good in case you don't draw a Solemn Judgment or a Anti-Spell Fragrance when you know you're going first post side. This is like an emergency backup plan for that. 3 Shifter. I mean, if your deck can play this card, you should play this card. Enough said there. We've got 2 Solemn Judgment. I would play 3. I don't have a third, so we have our honorary Solemn Judgment, Anti-Spell Fragrance. It's, Solemn Judgment at home for this deck. So yeah, you need this because you're always going to be having things like Duster and Lightning Storm sided against you, and you can just absolutely get blown out or evenly matched. You just get completely blown out by those cards, and so usually your opponent will only draw into 1. So if you have that Solemn Judgment on you, then you'll be okay. Lava Golem just helps going second, and you don't normal summon a ton. Get Out. So this card is pretty situational. It could potentially be cut. Basically, if your opponent has 2 monsters that are special summoned from the extra deck, you can shuffle both of them back into the deck, which is pretty good. I mean, Compulse is obviously the better card. This is just like a worse Compulse for the deck, but again, I just really struggle to find removal cards that either work under Shifter or don't proc tier effects, so this could potentially be a decent choice as well. And then last up, Time card. Got to keep that thing on you. Otherwise you will lose in time. Other people are playing time cards, so you got to play time cards. Fix the time rules, Konami. Anyway, that's all we have for the deck profile. Let me know in the comments what y'all think, how you're playing Labrynth. I've seen a bunch of different builds around, so let me know if there's specific cards you'd put in or take out. But thanks for watching.